Court rules Anderson Agiru is Hela Governor.
But court said no, both parties wait.
Tourism Minister condemns attack on tourists.
They don't deserve to live.
And a man attempts suicide in public.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Wednesday's news. Justice Bernard Sakora refused an urgent application filed by Koma Magarima member Francis Potape to stay the National Court ruling recognizing Anderson Agiru as Hela Governor. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of Agiru to remain as governor until the matter returns to court in February. Justice Sakora emphasized that this decision is for the best interests and rights of the people of Hela Province. Vasinata Yama reports.
Justice Bernard Sakora refused Potape's application for stay, stating that the application is of no useful purpose, unnecessary, and abuses the court's processes. Before the ruling, Justice Sakora said the two conditions that satisfy the courts are where the balance of favor should lie and the need to maintain the status quo. Justice Sakora said that PNG needs stability in the government leadership. However, the Hela governorship tussle is putting an uncertainty in leadership.
Because M2 finish. Me, assembly put me come or some Nibla governor. But court said no, both parties wait.
The tussle goes back to late last year when members of the Hela Provincial Assembly held a no-confidence vote against Agiru and elected Potape as the governor. After a number of court cases had at the national level, Justice Derek Achen reinstated Anderson Agiru to his former position on the 7th of January 2016. However, Potape filed an urgent application for stay in the Supreme Court in which the ruling was made today.
That application for stay before the Supreme Court has been refused, and his Honor said there are serious issues raised.
From today till the court returns on the 19th of February 2016, Justice Sakora said there shouldn't be any interim applications or proceedings before the substantive matter. The matter will be to decide the legality of the actions by the Provincial Assembly in voting Potape as the Hela Governor. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
Female probationary constable Jacqueline Tanda, accused of having filmed the condom eating saga, was released on bail by the Waigani Committal Court this afternoon. Magistrate Cosmas Bida ruled on the bail decision in Tanda's favor on the grounds that the courts have the power to accept bail before conviction. Her application was granted on the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in court. Tekla Gunga reports.
Magistrate Cosmas Bidar granted a 1,000 kina bail for Constable Tanda on 4 conditions. They include the 2 nominated guarantors pay a sum of 500 kina each, Tanda to remain at the Morata Police Barracks and to not interfere with any witnesses while police investigations are continuing. Tanda made a first appearance at the Committal Court yesterday and was formally charged for deprivation of liberty and abuse of office. The court heard yesterday that Tanda was alleged to have taken the video of a young woman being forced to chew and swallow condoms at the Boroko police station on December 4th last year. An additional charge was laid against her this afternoon for willful doing of an indecent act to insult another person. Tanda hid her face as she left the courtroom, but will return to court on 15th February. Since her arrest, she now has 3 charges against her. One of her 2 male accomplices has been located in Nipa, Southern Islands, and he will be brought back into Port Moresby, where he will be formally arrested and charged. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
33-year-old woman Kimberly Wong will appear at the Kokopo District Court tomorrow following her involvement in a hit-and-run incident last Wednesday. Ms. Wong was arrested and charged by Kokopo police yesterday and released on 700 kina bail. She was charged with dangerous driving, resulting in the death of a woman. The incident happened in Kokopo town at the early hours of Wednesday last week. Kokopo police say Wong drove off the road, hitting the victim, 73-year-old Mary Waninara from Gulf Province, who died shortly after being rushed to Nonga General Hospital. Kokopo police said the hit-and-run incident last week was the first for 2016. Trade, Commerce and Industry Minister Richard Maru has announced a policy for small to medium enterprises, saying it is the most inclusive and radical policy that the PNG government has developed. Going this step further, the Attorney General will be issuing instructions for the policy to be enacted into a law. The government is also looking to have foreign-owned businesses operating within the SME space to be sold to Papua New Guineans.
Details of the policy document will be officially released next month when the national government launches the policy. But today, the Commerce, Trade and Industry Minister Richard Maru told MTV that the policy is set to change how Papua New Guineans view the SME sector.
This is the most inclusive, radical policy that this country has ever seen. I'm pleased that Prime Minister and Cabinet has approved it. I've got the support of all of Parliament, and I'm really grateful.
While being radical and comprehensive, the other word that should be used as well for this policy is ambitious.
The policy is done, but the real challenge for the government is to fund the policy.
Maru says the aim of government is to create an economy of scale with up to 500,000 small to medium enterprises in the country. The former National Development Bank Managing Director has been at the forefront in this push for SME development. Elements of the concept have been drawn from Indonesia, Malaysia and other Asian economies that see strong government support worth billions of US dollars. And the message to foreign business owners now operating in Papua New Guinea in the confines of SMEs is quite strong.
The Attorney General will be giving instructions to our law firm now to draft the legislation so the policy is enacted into law. So currently all foreign businesses who are operating businesses in the SME space will have to sell to Papua New Guineans and they'll have to leave this country.
Over the last 5 years, there's been a steady push towards a guideline of sorts that would eventually pave way for an SME legislation. Now, 3 years ago at an SME conference in Madang, hosted by Richard Maru, there was talk over how the economy was going to absorb some 30,000 students coming out of grade 12 with no prospects of continuing into higher education institutions. Next month, when this policy is launched, it will mark a milestone for an economy struggling under global pressures. Scott Wide, National MTV News, Lae.
The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture was handed over to the new minister responsible, Justin Chechenko, in a small ceremony today in Port Moresby. Handing over the reins was Caretaker Minister and Minister for Planning, Charles Abel. In light of the recent attacks on tourists on the Kokoda track, Minister Chechenko said it was selfish individuals who spoiled the majority and that the change of attitude was needed.
The handover-takeover ceremony took place in the presence of officers from Tourism Promotion Authority, its new board, outgoing CEO Peter Vincent, and those from the Office of Tourism, Arts and Culture. Minister for National Planning and former Acting Tourism Minister Charles Abel welcomed the new minister and expressed confidence in Mr. Chechenko's abilities in moving the tourism sector forward.
It is very important that we have a dedicated minister on, in this case, tourism. And we're very pleased that such a minister as Honourable Justin Chechenko, member for Moresby South, brings his energy, enthusiasm, skills to this sector, which is very close to our hearts. And he's demonstrated through his handling of the Pacific Games and his past experience that he's a man of great energy and passion for our country. And so I'm very proud to be able to hand over this ministry to what I feel is very good hands.
Minister Chechenko said 2016 was a time to get work done on the ground to see quality products created and marketed effectively.
But at the end of the day, we keep on moving forward. We don't look back, we've got a job to do. And that is to make sure that our country gets the benefit from its natural wonders, its culture and traditions, its flora and fauna, and its people.
Minister Abel informed that new initiatives are being undertaken in the tourism sector, and Minister Chechenko said it was time to make those initiatives happen.
And one of our directions for 2016 will be to work on the ground, develop the tourist products that we have, upgrade them, enhance them, support them, and then go out and promote them.
Deli Waigeno, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. A suicide attempt prevented, workers at Kodi power plant threaten strike over pay, and MV Pacific Link on its maiden voyage. Those stories and more after the break. Welcome back to the news. 2 tourists were attacked and sexually assaulted on Monday morning at one of Papua New Guinea's main tourist attractions, the Kokoda Track. Tourism and Sports Minister Justin Chichenko described the attack as a barbaric act on 2 innocent tourists who could have been ambassadors of PNG tourism. Chichenko said this was a big loss for the tourism industry for PNG, as PNG tourism is much dependent on word-of-mouth information.
As far as I'm concerned, if I had my way, I would have all these criminals that raped this innocent woman castrated. They don't deserve to live. You know, what's the motive of raping an innocent woman like that?
Honourable Justin Chichenko condemned the act of the couple who were raped and beaten by 2 men at the Kokoda Track. Matthew Yvonne from England and Michelle Clements from America, who are both 31, were attacked on Monday at 8 a.m. while tracking. They were moved 20 to 30 meters away from the main tracks, where Michelle was raped for 2 hours while Matthew Yvonne was tied up and robbed of his belongings, then beaten and whipped in what he described a cannibalistic act, explained Central Police Commander Laimo Asi.
Assistance of the Kokoda Track Authority flew them yesterday across to Kokoda. So far, with the assistance of the community, the peace officers, the leaders in the villages, FOB, Maraba, have apprehended 3 suspects. 1 suspect is in possession of all their properties, including their phone.
He reported that the 2 victims were extremely traumatized after the ordeal and were brought in via helicopter at 4 p.m. Monday afternoon. After talking with Yvonne, they were able to establish an understanding of what happened and had a team, with the help of the community leaders, apprehended 3 suspects.
Have them arrested and charged for the crime, barbaric crime that they committed. And it's totally uncalled for. And as a provincial police commander, I apologize for those people, especially those 2 victims who have been gone through. And I'll make it my duty to assist my investigators to apply the full force of the law.
It is understood that one of the potters was involved and is one of the 3 suspects that is being flown in this afternoon. The 2 tourists have already left the country and the husband has agreed to assist in the investigation. Adelaide Sirox Kari, National MTV News.
A man in Port Moresby attempted suicide after he claimed the Education Department failed to pay his company for construction work at various schools in the nation's capital. The man tied himself to the main gate at Fincop House in Waigani and threatened to hang himself. He is part of over 1,000 contractors awaiting payments from the Education Department.
When MTV News arrived at the scene, the man was standing on a rock, his waist tied to the iron gate, a rope around his neck, and he threatened to jump off the rock. His actions were later explained by another contractor, Joe Kumbai. Mr. Kumbai said the man invested over 1,000 kina in the projects his company conducted in NCD and claims the department is yet to reimburse his money with interest.
And then as soon as MIPLA completed, only no giving MIPLA mobilization funds, we used our own money to organize this plan. Maintenance of all schools, constructions, maintenance.
The commotion forced employees at the Education Department to lock themselves inside and attracted a huge crowd outside. Police officers from the NCD Beat Patrol Unit and Mobile Squad arrived at the scene but only observed from a distance. The contractors claim they renovated classrooms and staff houses and even did plumbing, but are yet to be compensated. They said the department has been delaying their payments since 2007, despite a National Executive Council decision to compensate them.
I think that this government and the priority spending budget will put him litigation. Suppose put him litigation, then suppose people contractors here fight long on due people this department will pay people services people providing.
MTV News was not able to get an on-camera interview with an official from the department. Thekla Gunga, National MTV News.
Over 20 local workers at the Hanjung Power Facility at Kodi in Port Moresby claim they are working without employment benefits. They say the company has not increased their remuneration packages nor assisted with medical insurance, proper safety gear and expertise training. Eric Harupma with this report.
Hanjung Power Facility is owned by Daewoo Holdings, a Korean company that was contracted to PNG Power to supply electricity to half of Port Moresby City. MTV arrived today at Hanjung Power Facility at Kodi in Port Moresby to receive these workers' discrepancies concerning their employment benefits.
Despite the job we do, our job is we do a lot of heavy job, but our pay does not synchron with the work we do.
They said over the years the company has failed to meet the necessary benefits like allowances, medical insurance, proper safety gears and expertise training for workers. They claim that they have been paid a rate of 250 toya for a period of 2 years with an increase of 50 toya every year. Meanwhile, they have been paid 15 kina allowances and their retirement package is equivalent to their fortnight pay. They said in 2014 they have discussed this matter with the company's management, but to date nothing has been done. They said this multi-million kina company has had neglected all their proposals regarding their employment benefits since the establishment of this facility in 1997. Eric Harupman, National MTV News.
Luther Sipison is now the Acting Secretary for the Department of Lands and Physical Planning. This was announced by Lands Minister Benny Allen following a National Executive Council decision in December last year. Minister Allen justified the move, saying there were allegations of misconduct in office by former Secretary Romney Kilapat.
Minister Allen said he is confident of Luther Sipisom as acting secretary and that the appointment is part of a cleanup in the department. Luther Sipisom's acting secretary period is December 10 to March 2nd of this year.
15 allegations were raised, which 6 had some substance. So basing on those 6, the decision was taken by Cabinet. Now the investigation was done by the Ministerial Executive Appointment Committee under the leadership of the Public Service Minister.
Allen said former Secretary Romney Kilapat was dismissed from office following serious accusations.
I believe he would bring his weeding out corruption. He's done that. In the last three months that he was acting, he did that, so I believe he will continue to do that.
However, Minister Allen said some of the allegations were the actions of the former Secretary's officers. Following the investigations, 7 officers have been suspended.
Help me clean up the writings on the wall. Enough of negativity. Let's clean up the department and bring back or restore the integrity of this department. So some of those changes have happened and it will continue to happen.
Marilyn Diaukatam, National MTV News.
MV Pacific Link, Youth with a Mission's first training and medical ship, has returned to the country to be redeployed as a forerunner for the next phase of marine-based services. The medical ship set sail for her maiden voyage from Port Moresby to Madang to begin its service in the Sumka district.
Arriving yesterday on the invitation of the Sumcar MP, Ken Fairweather, the MV Pacific Link staff have already been meeting and talking with the Madang Health Officers team.
I think a lot of our motivation in coming here is really to serve the people, to help where we can, and but it's a part of a long-term strategy to reach the really remote parts of Papua New Guinea. So our heart is to go into places that really have difficulty accessing healthcare because of geography or for whatever reason.
The Sumcar MP, Ken Fairweather, has donated $500,000 to make this delivery of medical help be free of charge to his people.
I personally committed $500,000 on behalf of my DDA, and the DDA are more than willing to support that and maybe a bit more if we have to.
The Provincial Health Director, Marcus Kachau, welcomed the YWAM team on behalf of the Provincial Health Department.
We got a technical meeting happening this morning that already is taking place. Our technical officers from the hospital, Provincial Health Office and the YWAM, they are putting that package together.
The MV Pacific Link, a youth with a mission medical ship, has delivered 249,000 health and training services from the year 2010 to the year 2014. The MV Pacific Link will be delivering primary health care, dentistry and training to coastal villages in Sumcar district next Monday. Rachel Shise, National EMTV News, Madang.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3325 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3250, $0.4624 Australian dollars, $0.2962 euro and 37.98 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, coffee and cocoa closed higher, while gold and copper closed the day lower. Palm oil and copper closed lower, while crude oil closed the day higher. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed at 118 points lower, the ASX closed at 16 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed 15 points higher. You're watching National EMTV News. Stories making headlines overseas when we come back, including the fight to rescue child soldiers from ISIS. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, and the besieged towns of Syria finally received the first batch of life-saving aid for 40,000 civilians trapped in dire conditions after 3 months of deprivation by encircling government forces. A convoy of more than 40 vehicles organized by the United Nations and partners delivered food, blankets and medical relief to rebel-held Madaya, where several people and children have already lost their lives to starvation.
The UN has received credible reports of people dying from starvation and being killed or injured while trying to leave the area. UN resident and humanitarian coordinator in Syria, Yaqub El-Hilo, told of heartbreaking scenes when the aid convoy carrying food, blankets and medical supplies made it to Madaya on Monday.
People that are desperate, people that are...
We saw people that are desperate, people that are cold, people that are angry, people that have almost lost hope that the world cares about their plight, and people that are demanding, and this message I'm conveying on their behalf. They are demanding that the international community does all it can to lift surging in Madaya, in Zimbabwe, in Idlib, wherever siege is being used as tactic. In this conflict, it should not continue.
In their resort, in Idlib.
Partner agencies are providing food and medicine through the convoys organized by the UN, the International Committee of the Red Cross and the Syrian Arab Red Crescent. As the crisis in Syria nears its 6th year, up to 4.5 million people in the country live in hard-to-reach areas, including nearly 400,000 people in 15 besieged locations who do not have access to the aid that they desperately need.
We saw people who are severely malnourished.
We saw people who are clearly malnourished, especially children. We saw people who are extremely thin, skeletons that are now barely moving, and we saw people who are evidently have been going without food. At least regular access to food for a very long time. And that is also the message that we are also bringing out. The plight of the people we saw yesterday. And I'm quite confident that this is the same in any of these settings, where siege is being used as a tactic of war.
Being used as a tactic of war.
Negotiations to get into Madaya and the other two villages near Idlib were lengthy and difficult. In the past year, only 10% of all requests to access these areas were approved and delivered.
Many sadly have lost their lives while waiting. Many more will die if the world does not move faster.
The World Health Organization said it had asked the Syrian government to allow it to send mobile clinics and medical teams to Madaya to assess the extent of malnutrition and evacuate the worst cases. Vanessa Knight, EMTV World News.
There is a battle going on in Iraq. It's the fight to bring home the children forced to kill for ISIS. Those who are freed from the terror still live in fear.
5-year-old Sarah was captured alongside her mother by ISIS. Now free, when her parents aren't looking, she runs to cover her face. It's what their ISIS captors taught her at gunpoint. Al-Farouq Institute in Raqqa. ISIS claims it is their main child soldier training facility. To jihad, they're chanting. In this propaganda video spread out on either side of an ISIS trainer, blank-faced rows of children sit. One boy shakes visibly. Others unable to raise their gaze. These are the so-called cubs of the caliphate, ISIS's army of child soldiers. And by God's grace, he's saying, in the coming days, they will be at the front lines of the fight against the non-believers. The Guer front line, south of the Kurdistan regional capital, Erbil. The Peshmerga commander tells us this is one of their most contested front lines. Just the other side of that river there, that's where he says the ISIS positions are. Just the other side of that broken bridge. And it's from there, he says, that desperate children are fleeing, making their way through that river, swimming through the river, under cover of dark, risking their lives to make it here to safety. But not all manage to escape.
Many times when we are fighting ISIS, we see children at the front line. They're wearing explosive vests.
What's it like for you to have to open fire on children?
They are brainwashed. When they make it through our lines, they kill our fighters. It's an unbearably hard decision. You don't know what to do. If you don't kill them, they'll kill you.
US military sources tell CNN as ISIS comes under increased pressure on the battlefield, they are relying on child soldiers to fill out the ranks. This 12-year-old boy was featured in the Al-Farouq Institute propaganda video. He says he was training to be a suicide bomber. Now reunited with his mother, he's asked us not to broadcast his face or his voice. He's asked that we call him Nasser, not his real name.
There were 60 of us. The scariest times for us all were when the airstrikes happened. They'd lead all of us underground into the tunnels to hide. They told us the Americans, the unbelievers, were trying to kill us, but they, the fighters, they loved us.
This, of course, was all part of the indoctrination. His ISIS handlers would tell him they were now his only family.
When we were training, they would tell us our parents were unbelievers, unclean, and that our first job was to go back and kill them. That we were cleaning the world of them, of all unbelievers.
Nasser says the youngest of the boys was 5 years old, none of them exempt from the grueling training.
We weren't allowed to cry, but I would think about my mother, think about her worrying about me, and I'd try and cry quietly.
Highly stylized and romanticized, ISIS has released a number of videos showcasing its child army. But the reality is, of course, very different.
When they arrive to us, they are so skinny, they barely look human. They tell us they've been living in a hell.
Back at the camp, Sarah hopes her little girl will eventually forget about the headscarf and the face covering and the men with guns who threatened her life.
China's film industry is thriving. The richest man there is buying another big chunk of the American movie industry. Billionaire Wang Jialin's Dalian Wonder Group is announced it's acquiring the Hollywood studio Legendary Entertainment. A former soldier who built a vast real estate and entertainment empire, Wang made waves in the U.S. film industry in 2012 when he bought the cinema chain AMC.
The economy has developed and people are getting richer, so they're spending more and more money on entertainment. It's inevitable.
Zheng Puan remembers when that wasn't the case. He's directed films for 20 years and says the Chinese film industry is well positioned to compete with the West. And China's footprint in Hollywood is growing. Dalian Wanda, the Chinese real estate and entertainment giant, announced their purchase of Legendary Pictures, a major Hollywood studio behind blockbusters like Jurassic World. Wang Jianlin, the company's chairman and China's richest man, said the deal will allow greater distribution of Chinese films to international audiences. Wanda already owns AMC Theaters, the second largest theater chain in the U.S. This kind of reach could help introduce Chinese-made films to a different audience.
If you want to make money, you need to make people like your movies. Right now, Chinese-made films don't generate enough interest in America to be shown there. For that to happen, Chinese movies will have to find ways to entertain American audiences.
Beijing only allows a limited number of foreign films into the country each year. Last year, the foreign flicks grossed about $2.5 billion US. But out of the box office top 10, only 3 came from overseas.
Hollywood is highly industrialized, but it won't be #1 for long. China will take over.
But to compete with Hollywood, China will have to export hits too. It will have to build up its own megastars and be capable of hauling in Star Wars-like profits. At least for now, though, it's a lofty goal, one that's far, far away.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. PNG-born NRL star Nene McDonald makes it into the emerging Maroon squad. We'll be back with that story and more.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Papua New Guinea-born Nene McDonald has proved yet again to be one of the best this country has produced. Following his recent selection in the World All-Stars team by Wayne Bennett, McDonald was named yesterday in the emerging Queensland Maroon squad, who are recognized as potential state of origin players. The 21-year-old currently plays for NRL club Gold Coast Titans as a winger.
Nene McDonald's selection into the emerging Queensland Maroon squad comes after he was selected into the World All-Stars team to take on the Indigenous All-Stars team next month. The 21-year-old, who was born in Papua New Guinea, was named in the emerging Queensland team along with 19 other players from 10 different NRL clubs. New Maroons coach Kevin Walters said he was excited about the opportunity to work with Queensland's finest young talent at the Queensland Sport and Athletics Centre Emerging Origin Squad Camp in Brisbane this month. Walters said the emerging squad was a great concept that had played an essential role in Queensland's origin success over many years. Anthony Milford, Ben Hunt and Corey Oates have also been selected into the emerging Maroon squad. The squad will be in training from the 29th to the 31st of January. Jaylee Sapies, National EMTV Sports.
Minister for Sports Justin Chechenko said the government is working on rebuilding rugby league infrastructure in the country and is investing in the junior league program. The major facilities such as the National Football Stadium and other major facilities will support the code of rugby league and bring it to greater heights.
Despite the opposition leader Don Polly's call on the sports ministry to abandon the code of rugby league due to its lack of success over the years, Sports Minister Justin Chechenko made it clear that his ministry will continue to support the code.
I see the money well spent. Yes, if I'm guilty of promoting our national sport in the beginning and getting it back on track for the benefit of rugby league, crucify me. But I did the right thing for our country in getting our national sport back on track. Now I've handed it over to the PNG Rugby League. They're in control. They manage the day-to-day responsibilities. I have nothing to do with it. We stepped in when we saw it was a problem. We fixed a problem. Now they're running on their own.
He said the government has invested huge amounts of money into building the infrastructure and is working alongside the contractors to make sure all is well.
Right, get that back on track. That's what they asked us when we first took over in 2012. We've done that. We've got a career path now for rugby league players. For the junior rugby league players now, they've got a career path. They can be a hunter. They can be a kumu. That wasn't there before. Now they've got it.
Also, the government is working very closely with building contractor Curtin Brothers to ensure that the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium is built to expectation.
The funding through the national government and Curtin Brothers is ongoing, and it's a commitment that is solid, and we'll be working very closely with Curtin Brothers to ensure they have their facilities finished on time for the FIFA World Cup. That stadium will be 20,000 seat stadium. It'll be a fantastic stadium, one of the best, with Lloyd Robson as well. It'll be multi-purpose and we'll be able to host any event in our country.
The minister also made clear that Rugby League has not received all support as said on the media by the government. It has received backing from various stakeholders in the country.
Look, Rugby League doesn't have that much funding as everybody thinks. Yes, we have pumped in over the last 3 years, probably close to maybe 10 million kina over 3 years. That's through the National Gaming Board and through the national government. But the rest of the funding comes from the private sector. SP Brewery, major sponsor, nearly 2 million a year to the Hunters and to Rugby League.
Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
The National Football Stadium, formerly known as the Lloyd Robson Oval, will be completed in February. The stadium will be Papua New Guinea's home of rugby league, built to international standard with a seating capacity of 15,000.
Minister for Sport Justin Chichenko announced at a press conference yesterday that the National Football Stadium will be completed next month.
What we have here is the completion of Lloyd Robson Oval, the new National Rugby League Stadium. It'll be completed by the first week of February, and we look forward to the official opening where the Prime Minister will kick off the ball for the first game to be played here.
The field of play lighting is world-class, meeting international broadcast standards, together with a first-class playing field that meets NRL quality and size specifications. The facility also includes car parking for 200 vehicles, indoor warm-up and recovery areas, change rooms, gym facilities, training and warm-up fields, drug testing rooms, and match day medical rooms. The stadium will be used for local rugby league competitions such as the Port Moresby Rugby League and the Intercity Cup.
This is for local league, not only the big international games, not only for soccer as well, it'll be used for the FIFA World Cup, but it's also for our local rugby league. The PRL, the Digicel Cup, this will be the new home for those particular competitions.
The stadium is designed to suit rugby league. Minister Chichenko said the facility should be fully functional by next month, where it will host the first rugby league matches. The stadium will host the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup, which will be staged later this year. Dion Kombang, National EMTV Sports.
The city versus country origin competition in Leh will end with the decider match this weekend after a series of competitions. This match will decide the winner of the PNG Metal Fabricators Shield and will also identify players who will form the Leh City Bombers side. The Leh City Bombers are currently bidding for a license to put in a team in this year's Digicel Cup competition.
Preparations for the Leh City Bombers are running smoothly, with the concept to be used as an opening for players to enter into the Digicel Cup arena under the Bombers banner. The Leh City Bombers is a concept that can be used to unite and involve the city.
Development in the province itself. Go to school boys, start the 9 years competition, 10 years competition, and school boys competition, and also junior development.
This year, Morobe Country League will join the PNG Rugby League board as an affiliate. There is a development plan already in place in which emphasis will be placed on junior rugby league developments and pathways.
Our main goal is to focus on junior development and creating pathways for our young people, which aren't there at the moment.
And a lot of financial backing is needed to make this concept a success. The development program will run without the involvement of technical advisors and coaches. Instead, it will be driven by former Lay Bombers and Kumul players. Mata Lewis, National EMTV Sports, Lay.
Following the Hopman Cup in Perth, Heather Watson, who is part British and Papua New Guinean, powered through the first round of the Hobart International, defeating Teliana Pereira 6-3, 6-love. The British number 2 started the match strongly and had a blistering finish in the second set to win comfortably. Watson faces 4th seed Monica Niculescu after the Romanian beat the United States' Christina McHale 7-5, 7-5. Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Aussie rules now, and 34 past and present players from Australian rules team Essendon Bombers, one of the country's richest and most famous football clubs, were issued 2-year bans for doping yesterday in a ruling that stunned the sports-mad nation.
The Court of Attribution for Sport upheld an appeal brought by the World Anti-Doping Agency against a decision in March which cleared players of taking a banned supplement during the Australian Football League's 2012 championship season. The 34 players concerned are sanctioned with a period of ineligibility of 2 years, commencing on 31st March 2015, with credit given to any individual period of ineligibility already served. The decision leaves Melbourne-based Essendon without 12 of their listed players, and effectively hobbled for the entire 2016 season of AFL. In Australia's biggest doping scandal in domestic sport, Essendon were heavily sanctioned by the AFL in 2013 after a joint investigation with the country's National Anti-Doping Authority uncovered an organised and highly doubtful regime of supplement injections. AFL's anti-doping tribunal found the players not guilty of taking thymosin, beta-4, a banned supplement believed to aid in tissue repair and regeneration. Citing a lack of evidence, the Australian Sports Anti-Doping Authority decided not to appeal the decision and handed the case over to WADA. AFL CEO Gilbert McLellan said his body accepted the decision but was surprised by its severity. Stephen Dunk, a controversial sports scientist who worked with both Essendon and Cronulla, was banned for life by the AFL last year for his involvement in the supplements program. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. We will have for you the weather details for the next 24 hours when we return.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. First of all, in the southern region, mostly fine in Port Moresby, fine weather expected in Daru, Kerma and Alotau, and brief showers in Popondetta. To the Momasi region, brief showers expected in Lae, Wau, Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, brief showers expected in Lorangau, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe, and evening showers expected in Buka. And in the Highlands region, all major centres to expect showers with morning fog. And to end the news, recapping our main stories for tonight. Supreme Court rules Anderson Agiru is Hela Governor. Tourism Minister condemns attack on tourists, and a man attempts suicide in public. And that's the news, sports and weather we have for you tonight, the 13th of January 2016. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, I'm Merabatulo. Pleasant viewing. Good night.